I count 9, 8. Yes. How are you? Don't jinx it. Okay.
You're telling me.
If we can start to pull together here. Adrian, are we ready? Are we recording?
Absolutely. Yes, we are.
All right. Sorry about that. With that, we'll call this meeting of Ava Community Energy to order. Today is Wednesday, June 12th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Can we please have a roll call?
Yes, thank you. Alameda County.
Present.
Berkeley. Dublin. Emeryville.
Present.
Fremont. Hayward.
Present.
Lathrop. Livermore. Newark. Oakland. Piedmont.
Here.
San Leandro. Stockton.
Present.
Tracy.
Here.
Thank you. Union City. Community Advisory Committee.
Present.
Albany.
Here.
Pleasanton.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you very much. And with that, we'll begin by having the Pledge of Allegiance. If Member Roche could lead us in that.
Please rise and hear it. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. Before we begin, I just wish to point out that the order of the agenda is a little bit different than maybe what would be normally standard for the members present and also the public watching. We'll move through it as efficiently as we can, but just so everyone understands, we've got a bit of consent in the middle, if you will. So, all right, with that, we'll move to public comment, item 3. This item is reserved for persons wishing to address the board on any AVA community energy related matters that are not otherwise posted on the agenda. Public comment on the items listed on the agenda shall be heard at that time when the matter is called. We request that people keep their comments to 2 minutes. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak in open to the public comment? Okay, Adrian, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do in-room first and then we'll go online. Okay, so yes, welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Jessica Tovar with Local Clean Energy Alliance and the East Bay Clean Power Alliance. And I just wanted to reiterate what I shared with the Community Advisory Committee and then the Exec Committee, is that I was really disheartened to find that the issue of nuclear was going to be considered at the May meeting, with the PG&E advice letter having not been filed. You know, one of the points of this whole thing is for this to be transparent and for people to make educated decisions with this agency moving forward. So while I'm glad that the issue was delayed, I'm also concerned about issues being rushed and put forth without proper information. Full disclosure of the information, regardless of what side you're on. Obviously, my opinion has been pretty loud and clear. As somebody who's worked as a longtime environmental justice organizer with indigenous communities who deal with the mining and the dumping of nuclear waste, and also the people that live by the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant, it is very important to me that we establish an agency that changes the course of energy. That's what we've envisioned in starting this agency, and that we actually address the needs of community people that have been left out of the clean energy economy, that have been left out of the energy economy, but bore the brunt of dirty and racist practices. And so I'm here to say that I really want to see this agency move forward in a good way and do things differently. That's why you hear me say clean power to the people at the end of every meeting. I'm serious about that because as somebody who bore the brunt of living in a community that's been heavily polluted, I want to see this change. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that wish to address the AVA Community Energy Board at this time in the room? Seeing none, are there any online, Adrian?
Yes. Ayla Peters-Paz, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Hello.
Thank you. Ayla Peters Pass. I am with Local Clean Energy Alliance. I wanted to say many in the community are really excited that Ava Community Energy has, started to consider the possibility of a study session on resilience hubs. And we understand that part of the challenge that Ava has had is that there's not a definition of resilience hub set. And so I wanted to offer a brief definition that can help inform Ava on their endeavors to understand resilience hubs and how they serve their communities. Resilience hubs have various definitions based on who you ask, but the most important thing to understand is that they are community-led efforts and are spaces that the communities trust. These are areas where community members can access services for disaster relief and to gather and access social services on a daily basis. They are trusted community spaces where, people trust the organization and trust that not only during disaster relief or during climate crisis, but on a day-to-day basis, they can receive services, they can engage in culturally appropriate programming, and they can also find that area as a third space to engage with their community. And Ava has an immense opportunity to bolster these spaces and provide them scaffolding and funding to more deeply invest in the climate and energy programming that is already present, and that they can also possibly explore investing. And the important thing to recognize is that these are going to be resilience hubs no matter how Ava defines them. The community has decided that these are places they trust and the places that they will look to for climate preparedness. So Ava has an immense opportunity to provide that funding for these already trusted community spaces. Thank you.
Thank you. Audrey Ichinose, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Audrey Ichinose, East Bay Clean Power Alliance and the California Alliance for Community Energy. I too wish to comment on Ava's efforts on resilience hubs. I welcome actually what Ava is doing as clearly sketched out in the CEO's June newsletter. I was glad to see the scale of the effort, which is thoroughly in keeping with the dimensions of the crisis we face. One thing is unsatisfactory, however. Ava confines its effort to battery acquisition alone, a very narrow notion of resilience. Much more needs to be done to actually help low-income customers and resilience hubs in disadvantaged communities acquire solar systems in the first place. What good are the batteries if you can't access the sun to charge them? Of course, solar installation costs a lot more than batteries. It involves roof repairs in particular, not just panels and installations. I hope that the board and staff can come up with some brilliant ways to solve the problem. Perhaps the budget surplus will be large enough to underwrite some, if not all, of the costs of installing the solar part. Perhaps partnering with municipal governments, business organizations, nonprofits, the community groups themselves could lead to innovative ways to fund roof repairs and panel installations. It's noteworthy that even the IOUs are ready to support building readiness measures. Their statewide Go Green financing program reserves 30% of the financing for home and building readiness measures. That's great. I know Ava Community Energy can do it, and actually we have to. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hernando Sanchez, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Hello and good evening, Ava board members. My name is Hernando Sanchez. I'm an energy democracy organizer with the Local Clean Energy Alliance. Today, I want to speak on the indispensable role that resilient hubs have in our communities and advocate for enhancing and expanding funding for these critical resources. Resilient hubs are much more than centers for energy and climate-related programs. They are lifelines that sustain and uplift our neighborhoods through a diverse array of services. These hubs distribute food and emergency supplies, ensuring no one goes hungry or lacks necessities during times of need. They coordinate disaster preparedness workshops, CPR and CERT training, and equip residents with the skills to protect themselves and their families during time of crisis. Moreover, resilient hubs are pivotal in aiding recent immigrants as they transition smoothly into life in the United States. They offer resources and support that help new residents integrate into the community, find employment, access essential services. Beyond these specific functions, resilient hubs serve as vital third spaces in our communities, which people can gather, share experiences, learn, and build strong social networks. The importance of resilient hubs extend far beyond immediate crisis response. They are central to the everyday well-being and stability of our neighborhoods. They offer educational programs, health services, and recreational activities that contribute to the holistic development of the community. By providing both day-to-day programming and critical resources during disasters, resilient hubs embody the essence of community resilience. For Ava Community Energy to fully grasp the significance of resilient hubs, it is essential to recognize their multifaceted contributions. Supporting resilient hubs is not just about advancing clean energy initiatives, it is about investing in the overall strength and cohesion of our communities. These hubs are the bedrock of community resilience, offering comprehensive solutions that address the
Thank you. Go ahead. Stop.
Carly Yoro, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Hello, I'm Carly Oro with Emerald Cities Collaborative, and if it's helpful for the board and staff to have a summary of all the different comments on resilience hubs, I can send those points to the clerk for distribution after. But I wanted to emphasize other equitable resilience hub programming across Bay Area CCAs. Silicon Valley Clean Energy's Community Energy Resilience Framework, for example, supports resilience hub planning, including design and community needs assessments. They engage multi-stakeholder groups of local governments and CBOs to support the selection of high-priority sites in low-income communities, and they recognize that hubs provide year-round services that promote local revitalization and equitable development within a community. They have a shared community definition of critical community sites, which are eligible for all of their grants, and their definition of resilience goes beyond solar and storage and focuses on climate resilience and community welfare. For example, they've funded cool pavements resilience projects in Los Altos to help lower surface temperature on extreme heat days and others. Marin Clean Energy has also been expanding resiliency efforts in partnership with Marin Foundation to further develop comprehensive resiliency projects in low-income disadvantaged communities. One of their projects supported a hub at a school with a commercial kitchen, allowing them to serve over 360 people during an emergency. So I highly encourage the board to consider a community-supported definition of resilience, both energy and non-energy benefits of hubs, and to develop a resilience program that is equitable, comprehensive, and can actually serve and impact the Ava community. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any additional speakers?
Yes, there. John McKenna, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Great. I don't know if you can restart the timer. Thanks. Board members, council members, and supervisors, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. And thank you to each of you for your service to your communities and to Ava Community Energy. My name is John McKenna, and I'm here to highlight a recent webinar, Code Red for Humanity, Clean Air, Healthy Bay Area, that was held on May 9th. The purpose of the event was to provide local governments with ideas and resources for measures that can be taken to ease the path towards electrification and to prepare for the Bay Area Air Quality Management District's pending rule changes for zero-emission water heaters and furnaces. Every council member, every county supervisor, and all relevant local government staff throughout the 9 Bay Area counties, over 1,600 individuals in total, were invited to this event. Close to 300 individuals registered and nearly 150 attended live. The event was co-sponsored by many Bay Area Community Choice Energy providers. The event was emceed by Davina Hurt, currently the Air District's board chair, and the keynote speaker was Stanford professor Mark Jacobson, who has dedicated his career to researching both causes of and solutions to our air quality and climate issues. Topics discussed by the local government speakers included a variety of programs that are being implemented around the Bay Area to, 1, engage residents and businesses, develop the electrification workforce, update zoning codes to ease electrification projects, waive permit fees for switching from gas equipment to electric, streamline the permitting process, and avoid unnecessary electrical panel upgrades. The CCA speakers covered topics ranging from 0% financing to virtual power plant pilot programs
to multifamily electrification programs. If you weren't able to attend, a recording of the event and resources are available at Actera's website. There's also a document created by Spur, a toolbox for transitioning to zero pollution equipment that I would recommend you all take a look at. Please share these resources with your local government staff and elected colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Bradley Cleveland, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Bradley Cleveland. I'm an Oakland resident, and I'm a consultant with the Electrical Workers Union, IBEW Local 595. I want to thank the board and the staff for working with community representatives and labor advocates to support the development of a community resiliency hub program. And we're looking forward to working with you this fall to discuss what the details of this program might look like. And among the issues clearly we still need to resolve is sort of the definition of these hubs, funding, and labor standards for the hubs. Second issue I just want to raise is, as we've raised before, around the Critical Municipal Facilities Program. Really excited about this moving forward. It's really a big deal, developing these microgrids, and I think it's going to provide lessons for the community hubs, resiliency hubs. The one asset we've mentioned before is that before the board approves the contract, please ensure that the developer meets with the labor representatives about this program before moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily Ross, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Good evening. AVA Community Energy board members, staff, and community. My name is Emily Ross. I'm with the Reclaim Our Power Utility Justice Campaign. Just making a brief comment regarding nuclear energy. Thrilled to see that's not on the agenda tonight, but my understanding is you're still considering adding PG&E's nuclear energy to the Community Choice Program. So want to sort of encourage you in advance to reject PG&E's proposal of nuclear energy and prioritize other things like increased investments in clean and local energy, supporting the decommissioning of that facility, and working in service of residents and customers to reject this bad energy investment. Whoops, sorry. Multitasking here. Nuclear energy is dangerous, and Bay Area residents and this board itself have continuously rejected nuclear proposals. The framing around this offer from PG&E has been misleading. It's not a good deal for AVA. It's not a good deal for the community. So yes, please consider the ongoing community calls against nuclear. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Alice Sun, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
So much. Thank you for this opportunity to speak in support of a lot of the speakers that spoke just now in favor of support to the climate community resilience hubs, as well as opposition to the purchase of nuclear energy. My name is Alice Sung. I'm principal of Green Bank Associates, green architect, sustainability consultant, and now climate justice advocate. And I also live in the AVA Community Energy's jurisdiction. Most of this has been said before, many by Jessica Tovar of Local Clean Energy Alliance, but I'd like to also emphasize a couple of things that maybe haven't been spoken yet. And that is that nuclear energy is a false solution, and I urge the board not to fall prey to the false narratives put forth by PG&E and other fossil fuel companies. It's a known fact that actually there's nothing clean about nuclear energy, in the same manner that there's nothing clean about natural gas. And in fact, the radioactive waste, nuclear fuel chain, and uranium enrichment sites are known to be toxic to human and in fact hazardous to all life on Earth. In addition, radioactive waste is released into the air and water as part of normal operations. And therefore, I ask you to keep to your original clean energy commitments and not to bail out PG&E and to actually harm our own power source disclosures. So we ask you to stand with the community in opposition to the purchase of nuclear energy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Barbara Stebbins, you recognized for 2 minutes.
Oh, my name is Barbara Stebbins. I am representing the California Alliance for Community Energy. The Alliance urges the AVA board to reject any proposal to accept PG&E's dirty nuclear energy. Nuclear power cannot be considered clean energy. It is inevitably tied to the nuclear arms industry and the proliferation of radioactive materials like plutonium, which, like climate change, could also end all life on the planet. For community choice programs to take PG&E's nuclear energy may provide a minimal financial benefit to the agency, but the benefit to PG&E is much greater. PG&E's power content label for 2023 included 53% nuclear energy. If the nuclear content continues to rise, PG&E will have trouble meeting the state's renewable energy requirements. If AVA accepts nuclear, it helps PG&E by reducing the percent of nuclear. The Alliance was formed to protect community choice agencies from attacks by corporate utilities like PG&E. It is ironic that we now find ourselves protecting communities from potentially bad decisions by those very agencies. AVA's customers have 3 times rallied to get the board to reject nuclear energy. The Alliance is here to support a 4th rejection of dirty nuclear energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Gould, you recognized for 2 minutes.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. I'm Dr. Robert Gould. I'm a retired Kaiser pathologist. I'm president of San Francisco Bay Physicians for Social Responsibility, and as well, North American Vice President of the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War. I'm here today to support what I think is a very principled stand on the part of our partners within Local Clean Energy Alliance to what on one level looks like a rejection of a gift of the nuclear energy allotment from PG&E, but in fact is what we see as just yet another step on the global nuclear power industry to proliferate plants around the world in line with agreements that were made at COP28. We're very concerned about the spread of global nuclear power programs, particularly those envisioned for places like Saudi Arabia, and concerns that we continue to have about the linkage between nuclear power and the horizontal proliferation of nuclear weapons. We think and support those in the community to oppose this gift of nuclear energy. We recognize the dangers of having reestablished the viability of the Diablo Canyon site astride earthquake faults, but in addition to the safety hazards that Diablo Canyon represents, we are very concerned about the starving out of alternative and safer forms of energy by nuclear power, which is heavily subsidized. And in the event of a major accident, it'll be the taxpayers who will have to pay for such accidents, because the Price-Anderson Act only provides liability up to a present level. We support community resilience, and we oppose nuclear power and want to support the community on this. Thank you.
Hold on 1 second. Beth Weinberger, you recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. I am representing Tehillah Community Synagogue, which is an Alameda County congregation of more than 500 households. And we are in opposition to accepting nuclear energy. In fact, it's hard for me to imagine why the board is even considering this, considering the fact that your community has in the past, in the recent past, multiple times adamantly told you that they oppose it, and that 3 of the major cities, as you well know, that are members of AVA, Oakland, Berkeley, and Hayward, have long been nuclear-free zones. So, I mean, they've made it clear they don't want it. And it's kind of discouraging to have to keep appearing before you to oppose any acceptance of and use of nuclear energy multiple times. So I hope this is the last time we have to do this, that the message is loud and clear. We do not want nuclear energy. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further hands raised at this time.
Okay, we'll close public comment. Thank you. Thank you for facilitating that. With that, we will now move to item number 4. This is closed session, 3 items in a row, 4, 5, and 6. Is there any public comment for item number 4, closed session public comment? Any in the room? Seeing none. Any online?
There are no hands raised at this time.
Okay, open and close, brought back before the board. We're going to adjourn to closed session, item number 5. For board members joining us remotely, that closed session agenda link or Zoom link was emailed in a calendar invite. Okay, thank you. turn on the video, Adrian, or just? Are we ready?
We're ready. We're on.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We're coming back, and with that, we're now on to item number 6, general report out of closed session. Ender, anything to report out?
We have nothing to report.
Okay, right now at the end of item number 6, I wanted to do a couple of things for the public and members present. We are going to move item number 19 will become item 7B. 7B. I feel like I'm calling bingo numbers. So item number 19 is becoming 7B. And again, I appreciate everyone's support as we have a slightly different agenda than normal today. And with that, we will go on to our regular agenda. With that, the CEO report, item number 7.
All right, CEO report, here we go. So we did have an executive committee meeting on June 5th, where we provided an update on the budget, which we will cover today. There are some material modifications to the budget that were presented at that meeting, which will be discussed this evening. We also discussed Renewable 100 and some of the dynamics at play surrounding current and future pricing of Renewable 100 and the process for new communities to opt up into Renewable 100. The next executive committee meeting will be held on July 3rd, though perhaps that may be canceled because of the July 4th. So we'll see. We did hold a special board retreat on Wednesday, the 29th, focused on power resources. And so that was really a deep dive on all things related to the process of power procurement and also an overview of the current status of the energy markets. And then on the new employees front, we continue to hire at quite a clip. So we have one new employee who joined as of this report being filed, though I think I did just sign a couple DocuSigns offering jobs to new people. So we keep adding new colleagues. So Cassandra Dreyer is joining us as our first ever content strategist. Cassandra will be working on the marketing team. And Cassandra responsible for strategic writing and storytelling to help bring the AVA brand voice to life across our numerous customer touch points. So that is the end of the formal report. I do want to take an opportunity here because we are, this is my last CEO report. As CEO of AVA Community Energy, I've been the only one to ever give CEO reports, actually. So it will be a new journey for me, but a new journey for the incoming CEO. So I want to just share very briefly some quick reflections on my time here. So joined in really about a year ago, 7 years ago. Feels longer than that, a year. Feels longer than 7 years. When this agency was really nascent, and it was just myself and Stephanie Cabrera, our clerk, and Bruce, forgetting Bruce's last name, Bruce Jensen from the county. And I started, and Bruce said, Nick, he'd worked on this for almost a year and really moved a lot of great work forward with the JPA agreement. He said, I'm going on vacation, so here you go. And I showed up my first day, and Stephanie at the time was still working for the county, so she was not an EVCE employee. And so my first action was to say, Stephanie, would you like to come work for EVCE? And thankfully, she agreed to do so. We started out in the back offices of County Building in Hayward, and have grown very, very significantly since then. We've been serving customers for 6 years, so we launched in June of 2018, And now I think we're serving almost 2 million people. And we have new communities that we're going to be serving starting in 2025. Chiefly the city of Stockton. It's been a little bit of a journey. I would have loved to have made it through to actually serving the people of Stockton, but you know, the CPUC had other ideas, I guess. But it's going to go extremely well. I know it.
I will be celebrating with everyone in
Well, I'll be celebrating too, and please invite me to any events you hold out in Stockton. I'd love to attend, but I'll leave it to the AVA team to drive that forward. But look, we've accomplished a tremendous amount. We're 85 people. We have delivered 9 figures in customer bill savings. We've contracted for over 1,000 megawatts of new clean energy resources. We built, actually yesterday, we started construction of our first fast charger, our first DC fast charging station in West Oakland. So we're going to be actually starting to build charging stations that are explicitly built with accessibility for folks that live in multifamily in mind. We'll be the first ones certainly to do that in the Bay Area, but I don't know of any fast charging initiative at the scale that we're operating at really anywhere in this country. So something I'm personally really proud of, and that we actually started construction is an important milestone. So just really happy about that. I've served with many different members of this board. I don't know at this point there's anyone who was from the original. Lisa, you were an alternate. Okay, so Lisa, you've been. Yeah. And Dan Kalb, but he's unfortunately not here today, so I would have noticed if I'd seen him. No, Aaron, because it was Nick Pilch was our original Albany member. Certainly, we had the incomparable Scott Haggerty at the helm as our first board chair. But I've been really honored to work with public servants like you all. I'm consistently amazed by all of your willingness to commit so much time and effort to this agency, and this is sort of secondary, tertiary, or beyond in terms of your responsibilities, communities that you operate in. So I'm awed by it, and I really have been honored to work with you all. I've been really honored to work with a wonderful group of people at AVA, and I just couldn't be happier to leave it in the hands that it's in and in the position that the agency is in. And I know that it's going to continue to grow and deliver on its mission. So thank you all for giving me this opportunity. And I can't wait to cheer you all on from the sidelines. So.
Oh, and it's not done yet. So we got to open it up the CEO report for clarifying questions. Should not include his future plans. I actually do need to open it up for public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? 1 minute, 2 minutes.
I'll make it very short. I was here before a lot of you, actually, maybe all of you. But yeah, we're just committed to making sure we're doing the right thing for our communities. And we have a hunch about what's going to happen, but I'm going to find out soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment in the room? Seeing none, any public comment online?
There are no hands raised at this time.
Okay, I'll close public comment on this item. Bring it back to the board or members. Would any member like to comment on item number 7, the CEO report?
Knowing that if one person does it, all of us are going to do it.
Why don't we keep moving then? We'll save it for after the meeting. How about?
Yes.
Chair's prerogative, though, I will say it's been an honor. So thank you. I believe in just a moment, you'll be Ava Community Energy's first CEO chair, Meteris, right? So, okay, with that, I will gingerly move along to item 7B, which is previously item 19. It has been posted online. This is appointment of a CEO and approval of the employment agreement. Again, the agreement was provided to the members in closed session and is posted online for the public. Is there a staff presentation with this?
I believe I'm introducing it, then
Oh.
passing it over to Ender.
Sorry about that.
No worries. So, good evening, all. I had the pleasure to serve as the chair of the selection committee for our new CEO to go through this process and find us a new one. I wanted to first thank the other members of that search committee, members Marquez, Roche, Anderson, Gonzalez. We had a truly huge amount of meetings about this and a lot of work got done. Additional thanks to all the applicants and John Tedesco and Associates, who are our consultant firm. We had a deeply involved process. We contacted over 100 people, had a range of very qualified applicants, and went through several rounds of screening and interviews before choosing the unanimously best candidate, as agreed on by every member of the selection committee, by our current CEO, and by our consultant of our own, Howard Chang. As I said, Howard was the unanimous recommendation of the selection committee and came to us with a very strong application and obviously knowledge of his work, Ava's work, and our mission. So we are very excited for him to start as our new CEO, and we wish him congratulations. And with that, I'll turn it over. We first have to have it read by our counsel, so I will turn it over to Ender.
Great. Adrian, do you mind, Adrian, can you put up the agreement? For any members of the public here or at home, the agreement is also posted online and you can reference it there. So it is my pleasure to make the mandatory Brown Act announcement with respect to a new executive officer's compensation and benefits. So this is a 3-year contract. It has 2 one-year extension options. The start date is today, so buckle your seatbelts. The base salary is $445,000. Starting July 1st, 2025, the position will be entitled to a COLA increase that's tied to the San Francisco Consumer Price Index and capped at 4%. There will be at the board's discretion, a bonus of up to 10% annually that is to be tied to board-adopted performance metrics. There is also a retention bonus that will start in July 2025 at 5% of salary, and assuming that the CEO stays on board and that the receives satisfactory performance evaluations at the determination of the board, it will increase to 10% in 2026 and up to 15% in 2027 and 15% annually thereafter. There's a $600 monthly transportation allowance. Retirement is largely similar to other AVA employees, but with an additional contribution from AVA of up to 15% total salary. Vacation is 6 weeks with no cash out option, and severance will start out at 3 months for the first year and then increase to 6 months for year 2 and beyond. And that concludes my announcement.
Thank you very much, Ender, and also thank you for all your work getting us to this point. With that, I will happily move appointment of Howard Chang as our CEO and approval of the employment agreement as presented.
Okay, we have
Did we ask for public comment?
That's about what I was going to do. That's right. So I'm going to pause a minute to make sure I ask for public comment. Is there any members of the public that would like to speak on this item, item 7B, previously known as item 19? In the room? Yes, 2 minutes.
we had an idea. And it was suggested to me by community members, actually. They were like, is Howard Chang interested in being the CEO of AVA? So yeah, we did bring this up, I think, a month or two ago. And we did notice you're beaming tonight. And I've been coveting those clean power socks of yours. So you're gonna have to tell me where you got them. Congratulations, Howard, and hopefully we'll have a meeting soon.
Thank you. Any additional public comment in the room? Seeing none, any additional public comment online?
There's no hands raised at this time.
All right, I will close the matter. We have close the public comment, bring it back to the board. We have a motion and a second. We will take any final comments before. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Alameda County,
Yes.
Emeryville. Emeryville?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Fremont?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Hayward?
Yes, with absolute pleasure and confidence.
Thank you. Livermore?
Yes.
Newark?
Yes.
And Piedmont?
Yes.
San Leandro? Stockton?
A proud yes. I'm very happy to see this moving forward. I won't be around after January 1st, but I'll have a lot of confidence in Ava going forward.
Thank you. Tracy?
Yes.
Albany?
Yes.
Pleasanton?
Yes.
Motion's affirmed.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Not the same as throwing the gavel, but it's pretty close. For members online, they had a seat change in the room, so.
May I make a comment?
Yes, please.
I'm moved and I am beaming by the support by the board and by Nick, by all of staff. So I really appreciate it. I just want to thank. I will take the liberty to say some words about Nick. I know the board members are conscious of time and wanted to keep things brief, but I just want to briefly say it's been a huge pleasure to work with Nick as the leader for our agency. And certainly there will be more time to share some of that praise within our staff directly to him, but I wanted to state it publicly that it's been a great journey for me, working with Nick closely over the last 6.5 years, launching the agency with him, having him really give me the honor of working closely with him, trusting me as a close partner to bring this agency to where it is today. So we will greatly miss your leadership, your creative ideas, your strategy, your vision, but we will certainly not forget you. And I have some big shoes to fill, but I'm excited for the challenge. And I also just want to say to the board, thank you so much for entrusting me with this responsibility. It is a huge responsibility. We have some very ambitious goals and priorities. I am really looking forward to engaging deeply with you all, with our local community members, and in helping to set those priorities in a longer term sort of strategy and vision. And then lastly, to our staff, I've had a resounding amount of support and encouragement from all of our staff members over the last few months. So I really appreciate it. Your hard work, your passion, you really make us what AVA is. And so I'm looking forward to leading you all, working closely with you all to work on our various priorities. Lots of big things to come. So, onwards and upwards. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know how you follow that up, but I will say on behalf of the board, and I guess as chair I get to say that, but thank you to our ad hoc selection committee members again. I want to echo the appreciation that the whole board has expressed to our first CEO emeritus and to our new CEO to take the lead. We look forward to it all. I think the board resoundingly has shown that tonight. So we appreciate it and look forward to completing the agenda tonight as your new CEO. All right, with that, we will move to item 8, the CAC Chair Report, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I was going to say, I was here for a while when Nick first joined and Scott Haggerty was ruling and saying, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to do it all together from the Castro Valley Library, eventually to Hayward City Hall, where I was tasked to bring the snacks specifically to what Supervisor Haggerty wanted there. And it's sweets and treats. It's not supposed to have those, I was later found out, but it was a good learning. It's good to see this agency grow through the years, and congrats, Howard, and good luck, Nick, as well. In regards to the CAC, we had a couple public comments there, at least speaking about the nuclear allotment, some in favor, some against. There they asked us to remind that the CAC voted on option 0, which represents not utilizing the nuclear allotment. Howard did present the budget that showed net revenues decreased by 65.5%, and I want to speak to that later based on the recommendation by the CAC. We looked at 3 other items. The Long Road, Rosemary, and IPA projects approved unanimously. Also, the Durham's off-the-watt lunar presentation, also supported by the CAC unanimously. And also finally, the incentive program for heat pumps up to about $1 million or so was supported, and it'll be administered by Stop Waste. So with that, that's the report, and if I add more color to it after the budget presentation. Thank you.
And add each item, please. Yes. Are there any questions by members for the CAC chair? Seeing none in the room, seeing none online. Public comment? Is there any public comment on the CAC chair report? In the room? None? Online?
Are there no hands raised?
Closing that, and no motion. It was just informational. All right. So with that, we'll be moving to item number 9, the 2024-2025 budget. This is an action item for my fellow members. And can we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Adrian, if you could pull up the presentation, please. As he's setting that up, I'll just note this is a meaningful update to the last draft budget that we presented in May. We have presented to the ExecCom, to FAP, to the full board last May, and then most recently we presented this version of the draft budget to the ExecCom last week. Adrian, if you can go to slide 3. Many of the slides are unchanged, and so I won't take time tonight going through those same slides, but I will rather touch on the big changes that have occurred and really highlight those and make sure to reserve time to address those those changes specifically. At a high level, what has changed and caused the major change in the budget is that we have seen much softer energy prices between January and April of 2024. And the result of that is in this calendar year, there is an over-collection that will get balanced out in calendar year 2025. And so the net impact to Ava Community Energy is lower rates in 2025 than we had showed in May, and a higher PCIA. So that's what customers will face, and that's the impact to our revenues. As a result of that, we are seeing that our net position or budget surplus is reducing significantly. That is all in the face of actual customer rates going down. So that is a good thing, but it does squeeze our budget a bit. And so you will see some changes related to value proposition, some of the recommendations that we're making related to bill credits, and the budget surplus waterfall as well. So with that, Adrian, you can jump to the next slide. Slide number 4. The bottom left chart here really does a good job of illustrating what exactly happened. So everything is unchanged with the exception of the 2025 bar. And basically the previous 2025 bar was pretty closely in line with 2024. And what you can see here is in the sort of purple shading, that was a near negligible amount previously when we showed this in May. It is now increased pretty materially. And then the blue bar you can see has reduced rather significantly from the 2024 rate level. And so the net impact to the customer is what was kind of 14 to 15 cents is dropped to just a little bit above 12 cents when you aggregate AVA average rates as well as the PCIA. And obviously you can see the AVA average rates has reduced significantly, which impacts our net position at the end of the day. So that's really the summary of it, and we'll kind of talk about how that ripples through in the rest of the budget. You can go to the next slide, Adrian. So as a result of that, what we are recommending, the big changes are, we are recommending maintaining our value proposition at a 5% discount relative to PG&E. In the May budget, we did propose increasing that to 7%. So due to this change, we're recommending that we hold that at 5%. We are also recommending that we do not move forward with a $50 Care and Farah credit. That was in our base case this current fiscal year, and it was in the base case for the May draft budget. But due to this kind of margin compression, we're recommending to remove that. We will have a slide that really details the net impact to the customer, which we believe is more than offset by the lower rates, but I will show that as we move forward a little bit. And then, of course, the reserve waterfalls, we are recommending an adjustment on both the reserve allocation and some of the waterfall pieces that follow that. We'll cover that in detail. Everything else is unchanged. Our carbon-free energy procurement targets, our contribution to local development, the staff requests, overhead, all of that is maintained at the same level. So nothing to necessarily highlight there. The graph to the right, I'll just use to maybe highlight in a little bit more detail. And this is, touching on similar points that we saw in the prior graph. This is specifically representing average Bright Choice rates. And you can see what we're trying to show you is just sort of the difference between the May and the June budget, whereas the last slide showed between 24 and 25. So you can kind of see the change in what happened. For 2024, relatively modest change. That was really where we were, where we're currently at a 5% discount. In May, we were showing a 7% discount in terms of the recommendation. The two bars on the right is what, are the more meaningful changes here. So in May, we had a 7% discount, and you can see the PCI is almost negligible. And obviously, you can see in the bar chart all the way to the right, that is showing the recommendation of a 5% discount to PG&E value proposition. And you can see how the rates have reduced there and the PCIA has increased. So that's really the driver at the end of the day. The other thing I should just note from a process standpoint is that this is all being driven in this time frame because PG&E filed an ERA forecast update. So that's the Energy Resource Recovery Account filing. That is a standard filing that IOUs do at least twice a year, and they are a reflection of forecasted rates for the following year. The May timeframe is a normal timeframe for that. We don't typically see this much movement in that May forecast, so it's unusual for us to present something in May and then in June have such a dramatic change. That is fairly unique, and it is, again, it's a reflection of what are significantly softer energy prices from January to April this year than what was previously forecasted. So that's why that happened. We will see another ERA filing update in the October-November timeframe that will really establish the rates going to 2025. And absolutely, there is opportunity for this to change. It's going to be dependent on how energy prices actualize throughout the rest of the year. Going in, just ahead of the summer months, there's every possibility that you could see rates spike and rates could actually increase as a result. Well, sorry, power prices spike and rates could increase as a result of that. Similarly, you can see continued softer prices and rates could potentially even decrease from where they even are. Again, that would be a good net impact to customers, but what would continue to squeeze our net position and budget surplus a bit. Great. Let's move on. Adrian, I'm going to ask you to jump to slide 8 because I think that's just a slightly better ordering for us to review the changes here. So this is an overall summary of the budget and the major changes. So in the table to the right, highlighting the 3 columns, the one in yellow is our current latest June draft budget. And then just to the right of that is what we showed in May. And the last column to the right is our current fiscal year, what was approved as a budget last year. So in the June column, you can see the first line item is electricity sales. That's the major impact. So it dropped from $979 million in May to $882 million now. So almost a $100 million drop, and that is a reflection of those rates coming down. Most of the other items are not materially changed. The cost of energy did increase modestly. This is a dynamic that's important to clarify. So for 2025 The rates went down, not because of the forecast of 2025 energy prices changing dramatically, but again, because of the softer energy prices in 2024. So it's sort of a balancing for the overcollection that's occurring this year. So in many ways, you should look at our net position across multiple years to see how it evens out based off what you forecast and how things actualize, and then how things sort of balance out the following year due to overcollection or undercollection. In this case, it's overcollection. You do see a modest increase in cost of energy from 753 million to 760 million. Even though brown power prices are a little bit softer for this current year, we are continuing to see some upward pressure on renewable energy and carbon-free prices. And that's where it's particularly challenging and sort of highlights the difference between our sort of power procurement portfolio and PG&E's procurement portfolio. So there's some risk there to make sure that we're highlighting. Excuse me. If you look towards the bottom of the table, the total net revenues is the very last line item that really shows the net position or a budget surplus. And that is decreasing from about $139 million to $42 million. So again, close to $100 million reduction in net position. And that's what's driving the changes in the recommendation here. So wanted to show this table that summarizes the big changes, which is really being driven by a lower electricity sales level, driven by those lower rates, of course. Adrian, you can go back up to slide 6 now. I'm just going to cover 2 more slides, and then that will really be the extent of the big changes. Or actually, sorry, 3 more slides. On the CareFera impact, we are recommending removing the $50 on-bill credit, which was in the base case previously. But we did want to highlight what is the net impact to customers, given that rates have gone down. So the table to the right just shows what those rate levels are between May and June. So you can see for the care columns, the 2 to the left, you can see a reduction there. And then for the FERA customers, you can see a reduction in their levels between the May and June budgets as well. And this is average fiscal year sort of annual costs that they have. The first 2 bullets I'll highlight is that equates to $31.50 for care customers in terms of annual savings due to that reduction in rate. And then for FERA customers, $37.90. That's not quite $50, but it is a meaningful reduction. The other very important note to highlight is in our current fiscal year, because of those softer energy prices, we are overperforming in our current year's budget. That's about to wrap up here in just the next few weeks. And so we are exceeding our original budget forecast, which was already a very healthy budget amount, nearing about $200 million in budget surplus. So in January, of course, the board passed a waterfall there where that budget surplus goes a portion to working capital of, I believe it's $50 million, $100 million to reserves, and then the balance there going to a split of 60% to on-bill credits and 40% to the solar storage incentive program. So the 60% that goes to on-bill credits right now is estimated at about $34 million, a very healthy amount. And to give you a sense, a $25 bill credit to all care and FERA customers equates to about $3.3 million. The board previous direction was at a relatively high level, highlighting the importance of allocating a meaningful portion of that to care and FERA customers, though was not very explicit. So we do intend to bring something back to the board once that number is actualized with a recommendation and approval on how we actually allocate that budget surplus via the waterfall to various customer segments. But you can see it can amount to a very meaningful amount that could more than offset that $50 removal of the bill credit. Next slide, please, Adrian. Slide 7 really is just kind of an overall summary. Not too much to highlight here. As I already noted, we are recommending holding the Bright Choice at a 5% discount to PG&E. No change to Renewable 100 premium. And continues to summarize no CareFera on-bill credit. And really nothing else here is meaningfully changed. So this just kind of summarized some of the major assumptions that we previously had. So let's jump to slide 9. And this is really the last major slide update here, which is meaningful, of course. So this shows our reserve allocation and the waterfall that we're proposing. In the table to the top right, you can see in the current fiscal year, we continue to forecast $100 million reserve allocation. As noted, we are overperforming relative to the budget, so that should be very safe. That will end up being about close to 41% in terms of our percentage of annual OpEx. As I previously noted, Next year, that OpEx number, that annual OpEx number will increase significantly due to the expansion to Stockton and Lathrop. So it does increase to over $1 billion in annual operating expenditures. And if we do allocate the full net position that we're projecting at around $42 million, that would bring our reserve balance at about $373 million. It would actually reduce the percentage of our OpEx that we'd be at due to that increase in OpEx itself. And we're forecasting that to be about 36%. The overall waterfall that we're recommending is no allocation to working capital. That's consistent with what we showed in May. We feel that our cash levels and working capital levels are sufficient given what we've contributed historically, that we don't need to continue to allocate there. And then for reserves, we're recommending for the first $50 million, so a little bit more than what we're estimating as our net position surplus would go to reserves. After that, we're recommending a $25 on-bill credit for Care and Fair customers. That totals about $3.3 million. If we continue to overperform, we are recommending $25 million be allocated in the same kind of waterfall that we have approved for this year, which is 60% to on-bill credits for all customers and 40% going to the NBT incentives or the net billing tariff, solar and storage incentives. So that would end up being $15 million for on-bill credits, $10 million for the incentive program. And if we're fortunate enough to continue to outperform there, then we would then flip back to a reserve allocation after that $25 million. I know that's a little bit more complex than what we've seen in the past, but just based off of the meaningful changes that we had, we felt this was prudent to try to get some amounts into these various important buckets that we've identified, but while still preserving a meaningful amount for reserves as well. As a quick reminder, our previous, in the May draft budget, we had $100 million going to reserves. And then it was approximately $40 million going to that, that on-bill credit and incentive program split. So that's what it showed previously. And that is it. I will stop there and take any questions.
Excellent. Okay, so with that, clarifying questions by the board at this time. In the room? Yes, Member Gonzalez. Sorry.
Okay, so trying to understand what happened between May and June that caused revenues to decrease 10%. Well, give me a simple, like one sentence.
Yeah.
Did PG&E get a modification to its rates? What?
Yeah, so the rates that we had previously were based off of prior sort of market assumptions that didn't account for all of the January through April actual energy prices. And so at the very end of May, PG&E filed an ERA forecast update, which had the latest rates that they forecast for 2025. Those rates are what we've now incorporated, whereas previously we had staler rates that typically wouldn't see this type of movement in that filing. The reason why that movement was so significant is because the actual energy prices between January and April of 2024, the few months that we just passed, the winter months were very, very soft in terms of actual energy prices. Very mild winter, not just here, but nationwide. So good supply of natural gas, historically low natural gas prices, mild temperatures and conditions, and that is what has really led to lower actual energy prices.
And so, again, I'm going to try to distinguish between the cost of electricity in the marketplace and the rate that PG&E gets to charge. So PG&E, I'm assuming for their energy charge, and I could be wrong here, that it has a CPUC approved rate.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's part of the ERA filing where they show those rates and it incorporates a forecast of what energy prices will be to sort of justify that rate level.
And so what we're seeing is approximately a 10% rate decrease.
Correct.
In those filings. And I think our consumers, our customers, they may get confused potentially about the difference between the energy price and the size of their bills. Because am I correct that PG&E keeps increasing distribution transmission charges, even though the energy component may be going down?
That is correct, yeah. This is a reflection of the energy, the generation charges, not the T&D charges. And generally speaking historically and recently, we've continued to see T&D prices, costs go up, and we see more volatility in energy prices based off of how things actualize, and that's what this change is a reflection of.
Okay, so I'll offer some comments on that later.
Okay. Any additional questions by members in the room? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Betsy.
I was just hoping that you could remind us of, and I also just wanted to ask our new CEO a question, because I'm so excited. Could you?
Softball, please.
Yes. Can you please remind us of our reserve goal?
Our policy states a 50% of annual OpEx target with a range of 25 to 75%. Yeah, so it does give a little bit of discretion to the board on what we allocate year to year, but the policy itself states a 50% target.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions by any members online at this time? Clarifying questions? Oh, sorry. Yeah, Member Roche.
Thanks. And this is sort of the question I'm bringing forward from staff after looking at the budget. The comment was, given, the disparity in the change of what our forecast was and what we're looking at now, because the comment was, it seems that it could improve our fiscal stability if we weren't tied to PG&E's rates and instead tied to our own cost of providing the energy.
That is correct. I mean, by indexing to PG&E, obviously, we face the volatility and some of the, call it unpredictability of how PG&E sets its rate. It's not fully unpredictable, of course, because we have visibility into how energy prices actualize. So we did have a sense that this would happen. I think the magnitude was a little bit surprising. But I think that's right. By indexing, we have, we lack a little bit of that year-to-year control in terms of how that energy price is set. I will say that it's important to also appreciate that the PCIA is ultimately what the customer faces, PCIA and rates. And so if we were to, say, not set our rates to PG&E and went and hedged and therefore set our rates based off our hedging policies and how we actualized, there's still a component there that we are dependent on PG&E's power portfolio in terms of what customers face. Now, if PCIA goes up or down, our costs don't actually change, but our customers' costs change. And so it's still possible that if we stabilize rates, their costs are still not stable because they face the PCIA charge that goes up and down dependent on where power prices actualize. And where power prices actualize adjusts where PCIA goes. So if power prices are soft, PCIA goes up because the historical portfolio that PG&E has contracted is more out of the money in that scenario. As power prices go up, then that portfolio is less out of the money, and therefore the PCIA goes down.
And is that something that in the industry that CCAs might look at, like, is there some point we do, the industry does stop coupling or it does stop, marking off of PG&E and we look at maybe there is more stability in doing it ourselves?
Yeah, I anticipate this is a conversation we plan to have as we continue to further our reserve balance. And it gives us a little more flexibility for how we want to operate. I think there are aspects of our JPA that speak to our cost competitiveness to PG&E. And so I think we want to be mindful of how do we measure cost competitiveness if we're not indexed to PG&E. And I will note there are CCAs in the space that don't index to the IOU per se. And so the majority still do, but there are a selection of some that said, you know what, sometimes we're more expensive than the IOU and sometimes we're less expensive. And that's how we're approaching things. And so it is important, though, to highlight that they're not always less expensive to the IOU when they've stopped indexing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any additional clarifying questions before I open it up to the public? Seeing none? Okay, with that, we'll open it up to public comments. Are there any public comments in the room? Seeing, yes, 2 minutes, please.
Okay, try to make it quick. My first point, Jessica Tovar, Local Clean Energy Alliance, East Bay Clean Power Alliance. My first point is, and I've said this in other spaces as well, do think it's very important for this agency to create a debt relief program. The reason for that, noting that you are issuing bill credits and bigger ones for folks that are on CARE and FARA. The last time I had looked, and this needs to be researched, but there was a gap where about 30% of people who are eligible to be in the CARE, FARA, and maybe even medical baseline program are not enrolled. And so I think it's really important for this agency to have a program that actually, seeks to really, bridge that gap and get folks enrolled into those programs. And this agency did do that in 2021, solely because of the advocacy that was done around, the COVID debt. But the debt issue is ongoing. And so I do think an ongoing program really needs to be established. That's the first thing. I think the second thing is I do want to see that the resilience hubs work be addressed as well. And mostly because that is a grassroots from the ground up response to climate, both crisis, but also the day-to-day needs. And that it's just really important that we provide resources towards that. And that is like a sector of work that doesn't have enough funding. But that's a great opportunity for this agency to integrate the pieces that it's already offering into community resilience, as well as create a program where we can resource this effort on the ground. So with that, I'll just leave it with that because a lot of people spoke to that, but I appreciate the time. Thank you.
All right. Any additional public comment in the room? Seeing none, online, Adrian?
Yes. Jim Lutz, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Yeah, Jim Lutz. I'm a member of the CAC, but I'm speaking for myself right now. Howard, is there any way, or two questions. Is there any way for AVA to get a sense of what PG&E's purchase prices are likely to be? I mean, AVA's out in the market buying power as well, and I would think there'd be some indication that PG&E's prices are likely to go up or down. And then the second question is, when does the PCA expire? When does it get paid off and we don't have it anymore? Those are it.
It is public comment, so this time is for you to comment.
Thank you.
Are you okay? Next speaker, please.
There are no further hands raised.
Okay, we'll close the public comment and bring it back to the members. Yeah, Howard, I'll ask it on behalf of that. Do we know when the PCIA is going to be more challenging by chance?
PCIA, it starts to trail off, generally speaking, in sort of the 15-year time frame. It's based off of contracted resources that PG&E has in place. They have a number of, large variety of resources. Some of that is utility owned, and some of that is 10, 15, 20-year type PPAs. And so that gives you a sense of, the vintage of the various contracts that they may have. And right now we're in the, having only departed from PG&E load, our customers, roughly 7 years ago or shorter for some jurisdictions. Any contract they put in place up to that stage is part of that PCIA. And so it will naturally trail off, but in the near term, there's still a very substantive portion that is there.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. Before I open up to members, does the CAC have any comments related to this item, the budget?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, and thank you, Howard, for presenting the CAC on Monday. There was some robust discussion about the budget and the 66.5% reduction from the May budget, and really understanding that waterfall. So I don't know if we can share that waterfall because there's some recommendations around the waterfall so we can visualize that. So Adrian, if you're able to put that back up there, just that slide with the waterfall, then we can speak to it clearer. Is that a possibility? Adrian, thank you. We spent about 15 minutes talking through the waterfall bit, because here you have overall that $42.2 million is basically your net revenues from the prior slide. And so previously you were going to have $100 million, I believe, in reserves, and now it's $50 million. Proportionally, if you have a 67 or 7% budget reduction, maybe it could go down to $30 million reserves, which, on net revenues, if you're looking at $42.2 million in the first 50, that means all goes to reserves, and there's no additional money going back into the community like the CARE/FARA credits or the net billing tariff incentive plan. And so there was discussion around what we should be doing and focusing on community first. So we're just flipping it a little bit. Ultimately, I push forward first CARE/FARA, then dialogue. We talked about maybe putting some money still away in reserves. So the consensus, what the CAC was to put $30 million to reserve, so from $50 million to $30 million, which is somewhat aligned with the reduction of almost 70%, and then carrying the Care Fair credit, which is $25 on bill credits, or $3.3 million approximately. So we're looking at 42.2 at the moment. So we're at $33 million to date. Less than $10 million is left right now for the on-bill credits and that billing tariff, and that was still the 60-40 split. So looking at $30 million in reserves, taking care of the Care and Fair individuals with those $25 bill credits, then jumping into that 60-40 split for the on-bill credits that were up there as well, maybe up to $25 million. So I think that's still point 1, 2, 3, 4. So still focus on that bullet point number 4. So still aligned to no working capital up to the first $30 million, doing the Care Fair $3.3 million, spending that $25 million where possible, but knowing we only have $9 million left. So we see more revenue come in, it'll be great to do up to that $25 million. And then the member DeFranco suggested we focus on the local development business plan for equity and really taking another layer of waterfall. And that's, we're really being optimistic. $20 million towards local development business plan. Right now, it's about $22 million in there in this budget. She was asking for an additional $20 million. And finally, any other additional revenues are left to reserves. So we posted that online. So there's multiple steps. So again, $30 million to reserves, from 50 to 30, keeping the Care Fair up to $25 million for those on-bill credits, and then billing tariff incentive, but adding in additional monies to the local development plan up to $20 million, and then remaining to reserves. This still puts money away. We'll be at 34.5 in the operations reserve balance. And I understand from Howard, I think I heard you say that the variance could go from 25 to 75%, targeting 50. But if we focus on this model, nothing really waterfalls down. So I think just some thought and perspective that if you don't really put anything away, if you focus on that $50 million, there's no additional waterfall, given sort of the way that energy costs or the revenues are gone down by almost 70%. Okay. We can clarify further if I need any questions. But that's the consensus.
Okay, thank you. And then for board members, any board member in the room that would like to comment on this item? Again, the budget here. It is an action item. Any members online for the budget item? Okay, Member Gonzalez.
So just really quickly, just from a staff guidance perspective, I think that people in the public look at their utility bill. They don't look at their generation bill. And I just think that we need to find a way to actively communicate what's happening here, because I think PG&E may tout that their generation prices are going down or something like that. And then people say, well, how are things with AVA? And they see their bills go up, because in total, once you add TD, PCIA, and Gen, the bill goes up. And everything that I've heard is that bills are going up, that they're going up materially. So it's just kind of it puts us in an odd position. We have falling revenues at the time that everybody's bills are going up. So just to focus on messaging. I think we have to be really purposeful about messaging. Me personally, I am curious to get your thoughts around the CAC's recommendation of $30 million for reserve allocation, because just on back of the envelope math that I was trying to do here, on net, it would take out, based on this budget, 12 million. Like I said, cap it instead of waiting, it takes out 12, and 12 on $1 billion is about, 1%. But it doesn't materially shift, but there's clearly purposefulness in the decision that was made. So I'd be curious to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So you're right. I mean, when you look at the percentage of, if you were to reduce the reserve allocation from 42 to 12, 42 to 30, it would reduce by 12. It's not that significant of a drop in percentage, though I would also highlight that at least in the proposed waterfall, it's $50 million to reserve. So it's, in some sense, it's 50 down to 30. So a little bit more than that. But at the end of the day, it's not that meaningful percentage impact. I think for the reason this is our recommendation is, at the end of the day, even with this $42 million being allocated, our OpEx percentage is dropping by about 5% in an environment that we want it to grow. I know that there's commentary that says, our reserve balance is significant. It's a large number, and that is true, of course. But our annual OpEx is going to over $1 billion. So that is a very large number. So at the end of the day, 50% is the reserve policy target. That's what we're trying to operate and move towards in a meaningfully quick manner, as quick as we can, dependent on the surplus that we see year to year, while still trying to be mindful of various ways that we can provide direct savings and benefits to our customers. So I think that's the big reason we continue to put the reserve allocation first as meaningful amount as we think is possible. The other thing that's important to highlight is, I noted this earlier, but more explicitly, I'll say, when you look at the 2 years back to back, it's really important to look at the overall levels. Our current fiscal year is approaching $200 million in budget surplus. The reason it's such a high number is because they forecasted rates to be at a pretty high level, as you saw by one of the earlier bar graphs. 2024 rate levels are some of the historically highest levels that there ever have been. The good news is we've over collected, and so that's resulting in lower rates next year. But that higher performance for this year means not just a significant amount was put towards reserves, but a significant amount is also being put back towards on-bill credits and the solar and storage incentive program beyond what we had forecasted. So if you balance the two out, you're actually getting more of it earlier in terms of bill credits and incentive program. And we haven't, because of the way we set up the waterfall previously, it doesn't flip back to reserves or anything like that. It all goes to those programs. And so it seems, from our perspective, to be reasonable for this next fiscal year to keep that in reserves and make sure you hit some minimum thresholds there and try to continue to, in this case, not even grow the percentage, but at least try to minimize how much it goes down by.
Any additional questions or comments by members? Okay, I'll just add that one of the concerns I have is that reserve target number, because for sufficiency as we bring on Stockton and Lathrop, and we also look at the increasing cost of Renewable 100 on the spot market if we are upgrading cities such as Oakland and Fremont. So from my perspective, I would like to, I appreciate the CAC's idea of how to alter the waterfall. Maybe being a bit more conservative or concerned about some of the big moves that Ava Community Energy is doing as an overall organization. I think I'm going to be supporting staff's recommendation at this time, but that's where I'm at. If there's any members that wanted to talk about it, just want to make sure before we ask for a motion. Okay, then I will ask, moved by Member Gonzalez. Looking for a second? Seconded by Anderson. Okay, with that, any final comments? Yeah.
I just want to ask a question. You're saying in the current year, there's a lot more benefit to Care and Farah based on the 100, this current year, you're seeing more revenue go into those programs. So it's on par is what you're referring.
It is. So one of the slides specifically outlines sort of the impacts to Care and Farah, both from the rate reduction as well as the stronger budget surplus we're seeing this year. I think there is a healthy amount of on-bill credits that we are estimating based on the performance of this fiscal year. There is still some open discussion, of course, and approvals necessary to determine the exact allocation for different customer segments. But we showed some illustrative examples of just a $25 bill credit equals about $3.3 million of overall budget allocation. And right now we are forecasting $34 million that are available for on-bill credits. So could put a significant portion of that towards Care and Farah, but obviously there are other customer segments to be mindful of as well. So.
Just one last comment. I think just the only thing I'm recognizing is that, yes, you're doing the reserves and staff recommendation, but if it doesn't go beyond that, you're not going to do anything this current year. So that's just what I'm seeing too. But thank you.
Okay. Member Cox, I see your hand is raised. Do you have an additional comment?
Thank you, Chair. I just had a quick question. For Fremont is one of the cities considering the R11, I'm sorry, the R100. And I wanted to find out, with the way the budget is set up, is it accommodating a phased-in approach for R100, or is it assuming that you're absorbing all of it in 1 year? Just so I can understand what the assumptions are that are built with these numbers that are before us.
Yeah, great. Right now, it doesn't account for any opt-out by Fremont, Oakland, or otherwise, because nothing has been passed formally. So we are using sort of our current allocation across Bright Choice and R100 that we currently have. I will also note that even if Fremont opts up all of its customers or a phased amount of customers or any other city for that matter, it wouldn't be a meaningful impact to the budget because per our policy, any opt-up decision at this stage would really take place towards the end of the fiscal year. So we're really only talking about a few months of those customers being on Renewable 100. It really has a meaningful impact in the next budget year, which is the 25-26 budget year.
So that'd be more looking at July 1 in that
Because
time
it's
frame.
not until April that we actually would opt
Oh,
customers
April.
up. So it's just April, May, and June, 3 months that we're serving those customers on Renewable 100. So it's a fairly modest increase in overall load to R100, even if a significant load does opt up.
Okay, and then that would still be approved by all parties. So that wouldn't be till April. Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering the question.
Okay, we have a motion on the table and a second. With that, any further comments? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Great, thank you. Alameda County. Emeryville.
Aye.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Fremont,
Yes.
thank you. Hayward,
Yes.
great, thank you. Livermore.
Yes.
Thank you. Newark.
Yes.
Newark?
Yes.
Thank you. Piedmont. San Leandro.
Aye.
Stockton.
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Albany.
Yes.
Pleasanton.
Aye.
Motion is affirmed.
Okay, that concludes item 9. Everyone have a little bite of chocolate. We're almost there. Moving to item 10, long-term offtake agreements. This is an action item on our regular agenda, considering the approval and execution of a purchase power agreement with Rosemary Solar Plus Storage Contract and APA Storage. Close enough. Contract. And you have a presentation, Scott?
Yes, Scott, I believe, will be presenting this virtually.
Perfect, thank you.
Good evening, Scott Harding, Director of Origination for AVA. I'm very happy to present to you 2 excellent projects that came out of our 2023 long-term RFO. Next slide. We'll just talk briefly about those projects here and then go to the next slide, please. There are 2 projects that we're looking at. One is a purchase power agreement for 20 years. It's 70 megawatts of solar and 70 megawatts of storage for 4 hours, equivalent to 280 megawatt hours. This particular agreement, number 1, is for the resource adequacy, environmental attributes, and the energy, which is carbon-free. It's located in Fresno County, and the developer is Long Road Development Company. The online date is 2028, June 1st specifically. And the second agreement is a standalone storage agreement. And it is also a 20-year agreement for 100 megawatts for 4 hours, equivalent to 400 megawatt hours of storage. And this particular agreement is located in Los Angeles County, and it includes the energy as well as the capacity attributes from that facility. The online date is June 1st, 2027. If you can go to the next slide, please. I'll discuss a little bit about the development company, and then we'll dig into a little bit more of the details of each of the agreements. Long Road Energy, they've been around for a number of years, and they've been very successful at bringing units online. Since 2019, they've brought 11 major projects to COD, including 1.9 gigawatts of solar projects. They also currently have under contract to operate 3.5 gigawatts of operational capacity, and it's either under construction in terms of wind across the US or solar. Long Road has also done a number of agreements with other CCAs, including AVA. We recently signed out of the 2022 RFO and the 2023 RFO 2 other agreements with Long Road, one for 37.5 megawatts and 37.5 megawatts of storage, and the other for 42.5 megawatts of solar and 42.5 megawatts of storage. And those were recently signed and executed over the last several months. If you go to the next slide, please, I'll jump into this first agreement, some of the details. A lot of this is stuff that we already talked about on the other slide there, but I would highlight that the planned size is for 70 megawatts, but it has a possibility of downsizing to 35 megawatts of storage. It is 70 megawatts of solar, but the storage facility could possibly downsize to 35 megawatts. And that's mainly because this particular facility is interconnecting to the a brand new built facility called the Manning Substation. And it is a very critical project to the state of California, much less this project here from Long Road. But that particular feature gives us the ability to downsize the project to 35 megawatts, but it also allows us the ability to have a termination right if there's other issues that arise when it comes to the development of the Manning Substation. We are taking the entire project, so 70 megawatts of solar and 70 megawatts of storage is the entire project, and AVA is taking that. Again, it's a 20-year agreement. Online date is June 1st, 2028, and they are committed to paying in prevailing wages and seeking union labor. That's all I have on this particular agreement. We can go to the next slide, please, and we'll talk about IPA. And IPA is also a very experienced developer, specifically when it comes to storage facilities and solar facilities. They were founded in 2017, and they focus on the operation and the development of utility scale battery energy storage and hybrid projects throughout North America. They have 32 projects totaling 15.3 gigawatts in construction or in operations. They also have 19 projects totaling more than 8 gigawatts of installed capacity already online in operation, and they're the 100% owner of those gigawatts. IPA's balance sheet, I think it's important to note, is backed by Blackstone, and they've committed more than 18 billion of energy-focused equity investment. So if you can go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about the project itself. Once again, this is a standalone storage facility. It's 100 megawatts. In this particular case, we're taking just 100 megawatts of the total 400 megawatt project. So 100 megawatts for 4 hours is 400 megawatt hours. And we're taking both the capacity attributes and the energy arbitrage capability with the resource adequacy. The online date for this one is June 1st, 2027. It's a 20-year agreement. They're also committed to paying prevailing wages and seeking union labor. And that's all I have for this evening, but I would add that these were selected through a robust evaluation process throughout our 2023 RFO, and these are two excellent projects to add to our portfolio, which is growing in size and as well as our demand that requires a growing portfolio of supplies. That's all I have this evening. Once again, we're seeking your approval to finalize negotiations and execute these two agreements. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you very much for the presentation. All right, bringing it back to the members for clarifying questions on the staff presentation at this time. Any clarifying questions in the room? Any clarifying questions online? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and open it for public comment. Any public comment in the room? Any public comment online?
There are no hands raised this time.
Closing public comment, bringing it back to the members for board deliberations. CAC, any comments on this item?
The CAC unanimously recommended for approval of these agreements.
Okay. In the room, any comments by board members at this time? I'll mention it was presented to the ad hoc committee.
I was going to say, at the ad hoc committee, there was robust discussion, exploration of risks and the like. Committee.
Yeah, specifically the substation as well, and the downsizing. Any member comments online?
No, we just appreciated the presentation this past Monday, and I got all my questions answered at that time. I'm ready to make a motion.
Scott, your hand is raised.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I clarified the memo for the IPA project, also possibly pronounced APA or EPA. I think I heard it pronounced earlier this evening. That project in the memo says it's a solar and storage resource. It's actually just a storage resource. So I wanted to make sure that the memo says the memo needs a revision there, and it is a storage only resource. So just want to clarify that. Thank you.
I'll also note for the record that it is properly noted as storage only on the agenda. So, okay, Member Cox, you were willing to make a motion. I will entertain it at this time, please.
Yes, I will move with the staff recommendation with the noted change,
No change, just noted clarification.
a noted clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a motion. Do I have a second? Seconded by Member Gonzalez. All right, with that, any further comment? Roll call vote, please.
Great, thank you. Alameda County.
Aye.
Emeryville,
Yes.
Fremont,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Livermore. Yes. Newark,
Yes.
Piedmont. San Leandro.
Aye.
Stockton,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Albany,
Yes.
Pleasanton.
Aye.
Measures affirmed.
As I'm being taught how to pronounce things here by my member on the right. All right, with that, that concludes item number 10. We're going to be moving to consent agenda, which is items number 11 through 18, excuse me. I have to make a quick disclosure, in assuming members don't want to pull anything from that. I sit on Stop Waste Energy Board or Energy Council. Maybe Andrew, you can just make sure I do this disclosure properly. And I also sit as a member of the Energy Council. So I serve there as I serve here. Ender has been aware of it, and our attorney says that it is no problem. I just have to disclose that, and I do not need a recusal. Is that sufficient?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay,
And
sorry.
we just had another typo pointed out in the memo for the legal services vendors. There's an incorrect reference to fiscal year 22-23. This action is for fiscal year 24-25, correct, Howard? Yes. Great. So just so that everyone understands, that was just a typo.
That's an item number 13. Okay, with that, are there any we've clarified. Any clarifying questions by anything on the consent calendar, or does anyone want to pull anything on the consent calendar at this time? Tracy, any comments on the consent calendar?
Just two, on item 16 and 17, the CAC unanimously supports these items.
Great. Okay, seeing no member asking clarifying questions or pulling an item, I'll go to public comment on any item on the consent calendar. Is there any public comment in the room on any item on the consent calendar, items 11 through 18? Seeing none, is there any public comment online?
There are no hands raised at this time.
Okay, we will close public comment and bring it back to the members. Report.
Consent items number 11 through 18.
Seconded.
Motion made by Marquez, seconded by Peterman. Any further comments? All right, roll call vote, please.
Great, thank you. Alameda County.
Aye.
Emeryville,
Aye.
Fremont,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Livermore.
Yes.
Newark,
Yes.
Piedmont. San Leandro. Stockton,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Albany.
Yes.
Aye.
Unanimously affirmed.
Great, thank you very much, everyone. That concludes the consent agenda. Item number 19 was already handled above at item 7B. That leaves us with item 20, board member and staff announcements, including requests to place items on future agendas. Are there any board members wishing to place something on a future agenda? Member Wright.
Just a comment.
Okay, comment, please.
Okay, I just wanted to thank staff for the opportunity to attend the Clean Energy Procurement Conference. I think one of the things I learned in attendance there was how much I still had to learn about what about what we're dealing with. One of the other things I learned is that our new CEO is highly respected in the procurement community. So I wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional board member comments or suggestions for items for future agendas?
I have one item, Chair.
Yeah.
Through the CAC, they suggested, one of the members suggested that the CAC or somehow facilitate a study session on community resilient hubs. I know that more information can come forth, but they mentioned specific organizations like the East Oakland Collective, Asian Pacific Environmental Network, and Lincoln Square Recreational Center, Little Manila Rising. So it goes on with the list, California Interfaith Power and Light, and other facilities locations. Just maybe look at a study session or opportunities to really dive deeper in resilient hubs and having that conversation to learn more. So see how that plays out. That request is coming forward from that organization.
Yeah, I'll just mention that the executive committee discussed that on last meeting, and also that at the last meeting of Ava Community Energy, specifically in this budget, is to begin the process of scoping resilience hubs. And so staff has been directed to make sure CAC is involved in that process. So
Thank you.
I think we're slightly, maybe a step ahead.
No, that's great.
Thank
Thank you.
goodness sometimes. Okay, any additional comments by members online? Want to just make sure I give an opportunity? All right, that item is closed, and with that, this meeting of Ava Community Energy is now adjourned. Thank you.
See how